Tony D and Little Joan in the background, and this is your screenwriter's take on the Phoenician scheme, starring Benicio del Toro, Michael Cera, and a whole host of other people in a Wes Anderson movie that makes me believe that Wes Anderson is becoming more and more detached from reality. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys books 1 through 17. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. What the hell is this? I don't even know what the hell I watched, quite frankly. I mean, there's a lot of cool, quirky scenes in it, but I can't even really tell you what it's about. Some of it's really funny. I mean, Richard, can never say his last name. The guy from the IT crowd, he's always very funny. But I don't understand the message. I don't understand the characters really. I just don't get it. It just escapes me. Here's Benedict Cumberbatch in a beard, and he fights at one point. What the F is this? I really don't know. All right. So let me give you my non-spoiler review. I am confused. I am extremely confused by this movie. I can't say I hated it. I liked a lot of it. I mean, it's not unentertaining, but at the same time, I'm left wondering, what the hell did I just watch? Literally. Like, there seems to be a story in there somewhere, but Wes Anderson puts too many details. Like, there's so many unimportant details in this. I don't know which ones are important, which ones are not. It's like he's like handing me everything and going, here, you tell me what the movie was. Aha, that's exactly what I meant. You're very clever. Like, I'm waiting for that. I love the Royal Tenenbaums, but that had a very cohesive structure, beginning, middle, and end. This, it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. The pacing is nice. Things move from one scene to the next, but after the scene's over, you're like, okay, what was that all about? And he had a framing sort of structure in this, but I don't get why the character even did it. Because there's literally one scene where 3 of the characters sit around and just talk about themselves. And it doesn't seem like a real conversation. It feels like Wes Anderson is very, very talented, but needs a script. Which, as a writer, it pains me because I've seen a lot of guys waste their talent on scripts that I don't know what you're doing, dude. Like, why won't you follow a script? Like, with James Gunn and Superman, from what I'm hearing, it's a lot of nonsense, kind of disjointed in some parts. I can understand. It's a big IP. The studio probably hacked it, made him change things. He deleted a bunch of stuff, shot a bunch of stuff he never thought he'd use, and then had to jam it in the movie for time. But this isn't like that. I don't think the studio can tell Wes Anderson what to do on this movie. If they did, big fail, by the way. It's a little more coherent than his last movie, from what I understand, but like, I would have needed Wes Anderson sitting next to me to explain the movie. And again, it's not unentertaining. If you like Wes Anderson, you might at least appreciate it. I mean, you love his costuming and his shots. They're really nice. I mean, the most coherent scene in the entire movie is the elevator scene, which was in the trailer. And that's a really fun scene. And that to me indicated there was going to be a much more coherent structure to this movie. And there's just not. That's the most coherent scene in the movie. The rest are sort of, it's not even disjointed. It's just like Benicio del Toro has a plan, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't really exactly understand what was accomplished by the end of this movie. So, if I had to give it a score from 1 to 10, I'd have to give it like a 3 or a 4, maybe 3.5 at best. I can't imagine anyone enjoying this movie, like, fully. Right? I can understand if you watch it and go, well, I like this scene or that scene, and I like the look of it, and I like the idea of it. The idea of it isn't bad, but it's like he sat down and said, okay, we're going to set this movie in the 50s, and I'm going to try to make it as quirky as possible. And it's very quirky, but it also doesn't feel like a movie. It feels more like a student film mixed with a play. Like, there are actual scenes where it feels just characters are just repeating their exposition. It feels like Wes Anderson really wants to write a novel, and maybe he's afraid it'll be boring, so he doesn't write it. Instead, he makes it into a film. Dude, you should write your novel. I mean, make it as super detailed as you want, and maybe you can explain all this stuff, but there's a lot of subtext in here. Like, it's almost all subtext. So I cannot recommend this movie unless you're like a huge Wes Anderson fan. Otherwise, I think you'll feel the exact same way as me. You'll watch it and go, what the F was this? I'm sorry. I like Wes Anderson movies, and I even liked scenes in this, but I feel like I saw all the good scenes in the trailer, just about. And seeing the whole movie, I might as well have seen just several versions of the trailer. It was about as informative as the trailer, the entire movie. So anyhow, that's my non-spoiler review. Should you see it? I guess if you could see it for free, and you got about 2 hours, and you really like Wes Anderson, otherwise I think you're not going to be too happy. All right, let's break it down, screenwriters. Let's break it down. All right, first act. Benicio del Toro plays a Tony Stark-like figure. They call him Mr. 5%. He does things as a businessman that pisses off the other businessmen in the weapons manufacturing field. Mostly, that's what he's about, it seems. Not 100% sure on that, because again, there's just too much detail to process, but he starts wars when they want peace. He makes peace when they want to start wars. He's making money off the backs of these rivals that want to see him destroyed. So they're constantly trying to kill him to the point where it's a regular occurrence. His attempted assassination is a regular occurrence. And the opening scene is hilarious. I will give him that. Because it just sort of goes, oh my God. And he survives yet again another assassination attempt. And I was waiting for other assassination attempts during the movie. Didn't really get them. Kind of got one. That's the elevator scene later. It was way late in the movie, but I was waiting for another one where, well, they did put a bomb on a plane that Michael Cera finds, but the timer on it says 18 minutes and they're going to land in 10 minutes and they'll be off the plane. So it seems like the bomber was incompetent. Anyhow, and they do poison that pilot in the one scene. Okay. Anyhow, the whole point of the movie, I guess, is he's going to leave his fortune to his only daughter. And Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston in it for some reason. In this weird basketball scene. He's going to leave his fortune to his only daughter who's about to enter a convent. And he basically tells you can't enter the convent, don't enter the convent, come be my heir. Which she, I can't tell if he has control of her or she has control of the situation. It's all this bantering back and forth that you don't know who has control, who's the one with the status. When we talk about character status, that is constantly shifting in this movie to the point at which I don't know who's really in charge, because it doesn't seem like anybody's in charge. It seems just like a chaotic scene after scene after scene. And so he has this thing called the Phoenician scheme, where this is going to be his greatest project. He's going to bring infrastructure to this country in the Middle East, and it's going to include a dam, a railroad, and something else. And he explains it to her, and that if he dies, she'll take over and get it done or something. But at the same time, later in the movie, he also explains that his father wanted to be buried in a pyramid, and they kind of tried to do it, and then when they realized, well, he's dead and there's nothing he could do about it, they just had him cremated. Which led me to believe, like, why would you even tell her that? You want her to do what you want. But she spends half the movie explaining to him, I have really no feelings towards you because you kind of abandoned me and my mother. So it's like he expects her to do all this stuff. I don't know why she would. I don't know why, if she wants to be a nun, that she wouldn't just sell off everything and give it to the church, or just quit the nunnery and then run amok and spend all the money. There's really no explanation other than she's religious and doesn't want the money, I guess. But at the end, she eventually leaves the church. So how committed was she really? So I don't know if this is meant to be a anti-religion film in some respects. I don't think he's going hard in the paint on that, but that seems to be the subtext. And then there's Michael Cera's character, who is some kind of entomologist, but then it turns out he's a spy, spying on Benicio del Toro, but he falls in love with his daughter, who then leaves the church, but kind of not for him, but kind of like, I don't know, because she just decides she'd rather smoke and work in a restaurant and then maybe marry him later. Like, give me something, Wes. Give me something to hang my hat on. So you've got all these complex characters in these stories, but in the end, nothing's really resolved. And you feel like the movie could go on for another 10 hours. But eventually he pours all his money into the project, and because his daughter wants him to pay the workers a good wage, he created a fake famine in order to enslave the workers so they would have to work for him to get what little food they could. She makes him end all that, and then they run out of money for the project, so he has to put all the family's money in the project and probably won't get a return, and then he doesn't really, and ends up working in a restaurant where he's very happy because he loves to cook and do dishes and he's very good at it. Yeah, I know. And then Michael Cera proposes to her at the end. There's a scene, Scarlett Johansson's in it, and Benicio del Toro proposes to her as part of his gigantic scheme to get this thing built. I don't know. I don't know what the point of the movie was. It's just all over the place. I mean, there are funny scenes where the attempted assassination scenes are funny. The elevator scene's funny. Richard Holloway, I think how you say his name, the IT guy. He's always very funny. I wish the movie was about him. He plays a communist insurgent leader who lives in the jungle, and he's just very cheerful. So there are some funny moments. It's not unentertaining, but it does drag. I mean, my girlfriend was out about, I'm going to say, she's just like, you can watch the rest of this, but about 20 minutes in, she was like, I don't think I could sit through this. And I kind of can't blame her, because it was a bit hard to sit through. So, and I know I'm all over the place with the descriptions, but there's really no break of the 3-act structure, and I think that's the problem. I guess you could put it this way: the first act is him, his scheme, his daughter, and getting, Michael Cera, and then leaving to fly all over the country in order to make sure the Phoenician scheme deal hangs together. And then they do all that, and it builds, and this part of it is he really the father of this girl, or is it his brother who's the father, or was it another guy who is dead that the uncle killed for reasons I'm still not clear on, but his rival is his brother, and then he ends up fighting him at the end, and to the death, right? So he kills Benedict Cumberbatch, because Benicio del Toro, much like Hemingway of the Pineys, you just can't kill him. He's just lucky. So he gets shot, his arm gets broken, like all kinds of things happen to him, but like he doesn't die. And so the ending of the movie is, he gets the third act, I guess you could say, is he fights his brother. The scheme goes forward, everybody signs the papers, and he ends up poor but happy, and she ends up marrying Michael Cera, I guess. I don't know, because the movie never really commits to anything, and that's a huge problem. I would have liked to have seen like a wrap up, maybe that would have helped. You kind of do, but there's a running gag where he's constantly offering people grenades, which is very funny. I found that very amusing. But like the purpose of all the running around is to do the Phoenician scheme, but like the scheme itself is just too much to process, in my view. It's just too big. I don't understand how people are going to make money. Like, you kind of do, but you kind of don't. I guess it's because they control the water and a dam and, but that's never quite explained in layman's terms enough for me that I go, oh, okay, so they're going to make a lot of money. Like, that's what I needed to hear. Like, they're going to make a lot of money. But then when the deal kind of almost goes south and he has to get more money out of the investors, they needed to explain, well, won't they make less money then? And wouldn't they be against that? Or, maybe they'll be dead by the time the project shows a profit. Like, I think if you had explained it that way, then I would have been a little more on board. But, yeah, it's, the colors, the lighting, the music, like all the little details are amazing. It's a feast for the eyes, as they say, but it's too much. Like, you gotta dumb it down a little bit, Wes, I would say, so people can get their brain wrapped around it. I don't want to watch this again because it's not slick enough that I'm like, man, what a ride. I got to see that again. Like, if it was that slick, and I hate to compare it this way, but like, I don't know, like a James Bond movie with twice the action in it, then maybe I'd watch it again to get all the little details. But I'm just not on board. Like, there's so much going on with the characters and the dead mother and the brother and this scheme. Like, you're just overwhelmed with the details. It's too much work for a movie, mentally. I want to be entertained. I don't want to do work to understand your movie. And I get it. The details are cool, but they have to be icing on the cake. It can't be like, figure out this puzzle and you'll understand the movie. Like, it can't be that way, for me at least. That's too much work. I want a fun movie. I want to know that Michael Cera married his daughter at the end, and they're very happy. Like, if you give me that, then at least I can be satisfied with, oh, okay, so even though he was an agent spying on them, he gave up the spy profession for her and married her. And that's kind of nice. And the Phoenician scheme, although they won't see the money for 50 years, it's going to work. Something like that. Yeah, it didn't quite lock in. I mean, that information might have been there. I might have missed it. That's how confusing and just overladen the movie is. It's kind of like this shot, right? You've got so much going on in this shot. You've got old-timey technology. You've got the lighting and all the slats of light. You've got Benicio del Toro in the light, his daughter, and the costuming, the stark contrast. You got Michael Cera, who's kind of like blending in his own way, but he's a spy, so that, visually it all kind of works when you think about it, but like you want to not think this much. It's the only way I could articulate it, I think. I don't know. If you saw this movie, tell me what you thought. I couldn't recommend this movie. I feel like I would be burdening people. Unless you're like a total movie head and a total Wes Anderson head, I would just go, oh no, you can't watch this movie. You don't want to watch this movie. You're going to be lost. So yeah, that's the Phoenician scheme. What did we see it on? Amazon Prime, I think, for $20. So I really want to see another good Wes Anderson movie. I really think if he had a screenwriter that understood his sensibilities, but then pulled them towards reality a bit, pulled him away from everything that's so obtuse to something that was at least concrete enough, those details would really make a movie shine. Because Wes Anderson puts in his movies what a lot of other movies are missing, these details and the subtext. But it's like all details and subtext in this one, I think. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. I am currently, as you are seeing this, at the Blueberry Fest at Mood's Farm in Mullica Hill, New Jersey from 10 to 4. It's hot, but it ain't raining. So come on out, get some blueberries and blueberry-related products. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.